Plot twists come in many forms, usually surrounding some kind of mystery for the audience to solve. But sometimes you get a reveal for something you didn't even know you were supposed to be curious about. I'm talking about the trope of a character actually being dead the entire film. While in some cases you may have called it before the twist is eventually revealed. But in many cases, it comes out of nowhere like a lightning bolt. Before we begin, please like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Every new sub helps us achieve our goal and keeps us motivated to create new content. With that being said, I'm your host, Jamie, and here are 10 characters who were dead the whole film. Number 1. The Sixth Sense. M. Night Shyamalan put fear into audiences and his name on the map when he wrote and directed this 1999 psychological horror thriller starring Bruce Willis, Haley Joel Osment, and Toni Collette. Night brought his A-game to this project, winning Best Picture, Best Director, and Best Original Screenplay. The film follows child psychologist Malcolm Crowe, currently handling a case with a child who is extremely withdrawn and timid, which makes him suspect some sort of abuse at first. Due to an incident with a previous patient, Malcolm is determined more than ever to help Cole through his situation. As Malcolm spends more time with Cole, gaining his trust and learning more about him in general, he finds out that Cole is able to talk to the dead in the now iconic scene. And at first, Malcolm is skeptical. That is, until he goes through the backlogs of sessions with the kid who had similar issues. Here on one of the tapes, he finally hears it. Another voice, the somber and fearful pleas of a Spanish explorer being hung for execution. At the end of the film, audiences were blown away by a major twist when it's revealed that Malcolm has actually been dead the entire film. In the beginning of the movie, the patient we mentioned has grown up and is still pretty fucked up from seeing ghosts all the time. So he breaks into Malcolm's house, shoots Malcolm, and then ultimately unalives himself. Malcolm never actually survived the wound, and so he has been dead for about a year now. Everything comes flooding back to Malcolm as he looks at his depressed widow, who is sleeping while watching a video of their wedding. He realizes his wedding band isn't on his finger anymore, remembering what Cole told him about dead people only seeing what they want to see. Malcolm is able to tell his sleeping wife that she was never second to anything in his life, and he loves her. The entire realization is played out in flashes, remembering little details, revealing the truth that was being subtly foreshadowed throughout the film. It was an epic reveal that made audiences want more. However, unfortunately, M. Night has since never really been able to recreate that same feeling. Possibly the best film in his filmography. It's a definite must-watch if you've never seen it. So go grab some snacks and experience the thrills over on Prime, Apple TV, or Fandango. Number 2. The Others. Nicole Kidman stepped out of her comfort zone and dabbled in horror in this 2001 supernatural horror with a psychological twist that was written, directed, and scored by Alejandro Amenabar. Set in 1945, Grace is living in a remote manor in Jersey with her kids, Anna and Nicholas, both who suffer from light sensitivity. One day, 3 people come up to the manor asking for work, which Grace agrees to hire them. Things seem to be going well until one night she starts hearing an unnatural voice, and things being misplaced, objects having moved on their own, even while she is in the room at the time. There's even a day where all the curtains in the house are removed. At first, Grace thinks it's the new help she's hired, or the children acting out. But when she comes face to face, so to speak, with a spectral force, she begins believing the house is haunted and attempts to try and cleanse it to protect her and her family. She is contacted by an old woman holding a seance. And this is when she realizes the actual truth, that she and her family are the specters. Grace's memories flood back to her, and she relives everything that has happened, that she caused the death of her children and eventually her own, and that the 3 helpers who came there were there to help transition them into the afterlife. The fog that surrounds the manor every time you see Grace and her family slowly lifts, and she learns that she has to cohabitate with the living, but refuses, claiming this is their house. As Grace experiences flashes of post-traumatic events, she is overcome with sorrow. All the things she wished she had done with her life, all the mistakes, cut short in an instant. She was so grief-stricken by the loss of her husband during the war that it caused her to have a psychological breakdown, ruining the people she loves most, and unable to live with herself. The reveal still holds up, shocking audiences today as it did in 2001, as it's well crafted and paced perfectly. So settle in and get spooky by checking this out on AMC Plus, Philo, Sling, Roku, Prime, Apple TV, or Fandango. Number 3, Jacob's Ladder. Jacob's Ladder is usually associated with a lot of different things, such as stairs at a gym or staircases leading people on a winding path, or for the religious, the stairs that lead souls to heaven. In 1990, Adrian Lyne directed this psychological thriller starring Tim Robbins as our protagonist, Jacob Singer. The beginning of the film shows his military unit under attack and all the chaos as many of the soldiers are wounded or killed during a wartime battle. In this case, I'm assuming Vietnam. Shortly after, Jacob returns home, but like many veterans, he suffers from PTSD, something that wasn't wildly known at the time, but they were beginning to diagnose and study. However, they allow him to settle back into his old life, rekindling the romance with his girlfriend, hanging out with friends, a far cry from his experiences over the past few years. Then something strange begins to happen. He starts seeing demons, tentacles, and all manner of Lovecraftian horrors, almost as if he's trapped in some kind of waking nightmare. Jacob tries to seek help, first from his other surviving military buddies, and then of a specialist doctor who slowly help him to start to piece things together. And finally, during a desperate attempt for some kind of clarity, he gets a palm reading from a psychic who tells him, according to the lines on his hand, he's dead right now. The walls of reality begin to crumble apart, and Jacob finds himself in a dilapidated mental hospital later on, being told that he is actually dead, and Jacob must come to terms with it. Near the end of the film, we find out that there was some military experiments going on that caused all the soldiers in Jacob's units to become homicidal, which caused his death. Jacob ends up at the family home where he meets with his deceased son, and together they ascend the stairs to a bright light. This film will have you thinking about it for quite some time, as it questions Christianity's teachings of hell being this horrible place, but instead as a place to burn all your connections and wants with this world before you are unburdened and sent to heaven. A chiropractor in the film quotes the 14th century Christian mystic Meister Eckhart as he describes hell being more of a cleanse than a curse. If you're looking for a help of existential crisis along with your horror, then check this out on Google Play, Apple TV, Fandango, or Prime. Number 4, Silent Hill. Christopher Gans directed this 2006 supernatural horror adapted from the acclaimed video game series Silent Hill, at a time when game adaptations were just becoming a genre unto its own. The story follows Rose as she takes her daughter Sharon to a town in West Virginia known as Silent Hill, because she keeps having nightmares and waking up calling out its name. Upon arrival, they end up in a car accident and Sharon goes missing. But this thick, ominous fog envelops the entire landscape like some kind of death shroud and hides some truly horrific monsters within it. Rose sets out to look for her daughter and is joined by a police officer, Sybil, and together they encounter many of these terrifying creatures, as well as members of a strange cult who try to capture them, only to learn the truth of this town. We find out at the end that Sharon and one of the girls from the town are the same person, just split into two different bodies through some dark and sinister ritual. But once they're rejoined, Rose is able to take Sharon back home. However, when they try to leave, the fog that encased Silent Hill still remains around them, and they are unable to contact other people. And so the realizations begin to set in that neither one of them survived the town, and their souls are forever trapped in the place that Sharon died so long ago. And Rose died during the initial car accident. And as the saying goes, once you enter, you may never leave. A complex film, it's not without its issues, but surprisingly, has been one of the more faithful adaptations of a fan-favorite video game franchise, totally capturing the vibe and spirit of the series, while also telling its own tale. So take a trip to Silent Hill and experience their quaint, small-town lifestyle over on Roku, Google Play, Prime, Apple TV, or Fandango. Number 5, Passengers. Not to be confused with that sci-fi letdown from 2016 starring Chris Pratt and Jennifer Lawrence. This film from 2008 brought us a darkly twisted take on a classic romantic mystery thriller style story, directed by Rodrigo Garcia. Starring Anne Hathaway as psychologist Claire and Patrick Wilson as Eric, the story unfolds with Claire, who is a counselor for survivors of a plane wreck, where she meets Eric, who seems oddly more alive and happy than the rest of the survivors, almost euphoric. Eric and Claire start bonding, getting closer, even though warning bells are going off for Claire, as Eric seems to know more than he should. Eric was also the first to stop going to meetings, and Claire becomes concerned as others slowly stop coming and disappearing. She goes to meet up with Eric when he reveals the truth, that they all died in the crash, and each one of them needed to find their own way to come to terms with no longer being alive. Claire starts to realize she knows the people she's been interacting with. It's families and friends who have died that are playing various roles in this afterlife illusion, helping guide her to her final destination. The chemistry between Hathaway and Wilson is undeniable, and the cinematography is absolutely brilliant, tying in the emotions with each scene. There's even a beautiful moment where instead of walking into the light, they sail off into it. So if you're looking for something with a slightly more uplifting ending, then head on over to Prime, Google Play, or Apple TV to check this film out.
Hey guys, thanks for checking out our channel. We hope that you're enjoying all of our content. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Don't forget to ring that bell icon to stay up to date with our latest releases. If you want to support us even further, there are numerous ways. First, check out fatninja.shop, our very own merch store where we sell t-shirts, hoodies, hats, shoes, and more, featuring our logo and other designs. You can also join our Patreon, linked in the video description. Last but not least, we have officially launched the YouTube membership program. At only $4.99 a month, you'll get access to our monthly newsletter featuring reviews, previews, and exclusive behind-the-scenes information about our upcoming projects and videos. You also get a nifty little badge and special emojis that you can use during our upcoming live stream chats. And if you're a member of our Discord channel, you'll get access to a special role which gives you even better access to the Fat Ninja staff and the chance to enter a monthly prize drawing as well as a shout out at the end of our videos. The prize drawings will only begin once we have reached our goal of 50 members. Finally, you'll also be gifted a special coupon code good for 20% off any item from our store. We appreciate each and every one of you and are incredibly thankful for your support. Each new subscriber and member helps us achieve our goals and keeps us motivated to create new content each week. Thanks again. Take care.
Number 6, The Uninvited. We follow Anna and Alex, two sisters who are reunited after Anna was discharged from a psychiatric hospital following the death of her mother. Anna learns from Alex about their father's new girlfriend, and the two become obsessed with figuring out who this woman is, learning the girlfriend is not exactly who she says she is. While trying to convince their father the girlfriend is bad news, he dismisses them and tells them there's nothing to worry about. But Anna is convinced the girlfriend is a murderer, and the two ultimately kill the girlfriend. It isn't until the dad comes home that we find out Anna suffers from schizophrenia and dissociative identity disorder, and that the sister Alex is nothing more than a hallucination, since she also died in the same fire that killed their mother. Anna fueled the hallucinations as she wants her sister to forgive her for her part in her sister and mother's death, ultimately realizing Anna will never get that forgiveness from Alex she so desperately needs. It's a twist I did not see coming, especially considering all the stigma that surrounds mental illness. But this film is a remake of the 2003 South Korean film titled A Tale of Two Sisters, and the Guard brothers did a phenomenal job translating and adapting this film for American audiences. A bit predictable in some areas, but it's still an enjoyable watch throughout, with stellar performances by Emily Browning, Elizabeth Banks, Ariel Cabal, Dave Strathman, and Maya Masser. So check it out over on Pluto, Google Play, Apple TV, Fandango, or Prime. Number 7, Vanilla Sky. Cameron Crowe directed this 2001 sci-fi psychological thriller starring Tom Cruise, Penelope Cruz, Cameron Diaz, Jason Lee, and Kurt Russell. Not usually a fan of Tom Cruise personally, but this is one of the few roles where he didn't play his typical charming bad boy persona. We follow David as he's in prison wearing a prosthetic mask due to the disfigurement he suffered after a car accident. He goes on to tell his story about how he went from one woman to the next and ended up in the car accident. David is currently in jail for the murder of his girlfriend and learns of a program, Life Extension, that's on the table for his conviction. David decides to take the deal and is put into this cryogenic sleep, and eventually the pleasant lucid dream life he was supposed to be experiencing turns into a full-blown nightmare. As David is experiencing this nightmare, he also notices a man following him, revealing David has control over what happens. There's one point where David is back in the interrogation room talking with a psychologist when he says he wants the life extension program, making the doctor take him to the company. David feels he's been here before and loses his mind, running into the main corridor, screaming for tech support. David is met with an elevator opening, revealing the man he met before that was following him, claiming he's the tech support, and that something went wrong with his experience, and also learning he's been in this state for 150 years. Now he has a choice to make: return to the dream or return to his waking life, to which all he has to do is take a leap of faith. David ends up taking that leap, opening his right eye at the end of the film. The ending is still often debated by fans of this cult classic, whether everything he experienced was it as it was shown to us, or if it was just in some coma and this is how his mind got him to wake himself up. Head on over to Paramount Plus, Fubo, Sling, Roku, Prime, Google Play, Apple TV, or Fandango, and let us know your thoughts. Number 8, Atonement. Joe Wright directed this romantic war drama based on Ian McEwan's novel of the same name, starring Keira Knightley, Saoirse Ronan, and James McAvoy. Bryony, a 13-year-old with quite the imagination, sees her older sister Cecilia and the housekeeper's son Robbie have a bit of an argument, where Cecilia comes out of a fountain and grabs a vase angrily out of Robbie's hands. As Bryony witnesses this little exchange, Cecilia is wearing only white as she's soaked, giving Bryony the idea something more has happened, but she can't be sure. Bryony's cousin is later assaulted, and Bryony claims it was Robbie and he is sentenced to serve in the army during World War II. Cecilia ends up in London as a nurse, and Bryony wants to reconcile. But unfortunately, that never happens. It's at the end of the film when we see an older Bryony promoting her new book, learning the truth of what happened between Cecilia and Robbie. Bryony wants to atone for the damage that she inflicted on the two, causing them to be apart and not getting there happily ever after. She goes on to explain that in the book she was able to give them a gift they never had in life, and she owed it to them. This is one of my favorite movies and novels ever, and the way it's played out is genius. We all know what one little lie can do, but the repercussions can sometimes be far worse than the initial offense. Make sure to grab some blankets and popcorn and cuddle up some Saturday night, and check this out on Google Play, Apple TV, Fandango, or Prime. Number 9, Carnival of Souls. I love classic old horror films, and 1962 psychological horror Carnival of Souls does not disappoint in the slightest. Following Mary as she and some friends are out driving around when some men decide to challenge them to a road race, when the car with the woman is nudged and sent into the river. Mary climbs to the riverbank and, possibly due to some severe head injuries, can't remember what happened. She ends up moving to Salt Lake City, where she's hired at the church to be their organist. As she's driving around near the Great Salt Lake, she finds an abandoned pavilion. Becoming curious about what happened to it, she learns the long history from a gas station attendant. However, Mary keeps having encounters with this strange, ghoulish man on occasion, and becomes increasingly intrigued by a pavilion in town. The minister tells her that it's illegal to go inside and that she should just forget about it. But with zero impulse control, she goes inside, and we eventually find her dancing with the man she's been seeing all around town. This is when she realizes that she's not in the right place, and runs away being chased by all these ghosts. After that, the town realizes she vanished. But back in Kansas, where the crashed car lies in the river, it's being pulled out, revealing Mary in the front seat, never having left. A fantastic reveal. It's also interesting commentary on purgatory and the desire to move on in the afterlife, how some are afraid to and others are drawn to it. Head on over to Philo, Tubi, Pluto, Zumo, Sling, Roku, Crackle, Fandango, Plex, Prime, MGM Plus, Fubo, Max, AMC Plus, Hulu, or Apple TV to check out this classic. Number 10, Angel Heart. Alan Parker directed this 1987 supernatural psychological thriller starring Mickey Rourke and Robert De Niro. Some of the names in this film remind me of the 1920s mafia names. However, it takes place in 1955 New York, where Harry, played by Rourke, is contacted by a man named Louis Cypher, played by De Niro, to track down the singer Johnny Favorite. Harry realizes that hospital documentation has been falsified, and as he investigates further, a slew of murders turn up in his wake, starting off with the doctor who falsified the hospital records for Favorite. Harry gets a lead that sends him down to New Orleans, meeting with Favorite's daughter, ex-fiancé, and a jazz musician, where the ex-fiancé and jazz musician end up dead, and Harry engaging in some questionable activities with the daughter. Harry claims he'd never hurt anybody, but then it's revealed that Johnny and Harry are the same person, and Johnny sold his soul to Satan himself to become famous, but decided to find a way out of the deal once his contract was up. He then realizes that Louis Cypher is actually Lucifer, and all his running and hiding did him no good, as he now descends into the elevator to hell. It's an epic film with a great cast and chilling atmosphere that will leave you on the edge of your seat. So head on over to Pluto, Google Play, Apple TV, Fandango, or Prime to check it out. Thanks for checking out the video. Did we leave any films off the list? Let us know in the comments. If you enjoyed the video, please like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Don't forget to tap that bell icon to stay up to date with our latest releases. You can reach out to us on Twitter or X at StudiosFat, or chat with us on Discord, linked below. We're also now on Blue Sky. You can find us at studiosfat.bsky.social, which will also link below. If you're really enjoying our content and want to help support us, click that join button for exclusive content, rewards, and perks. Make sure to check out our very own merch store located at fatninja.shop. All proceeds go towards our next film project, so we'd greatly appreciate it. I've been your host, Jamie. Thanks again. See you in the next one.